Hello, friends. Hello. I'm so glad you're here with me today. If we have not met, my name is Carrie Giletto, and I am one of the online instructors for Heartfelt Creation. And today we're going to be looking at the Insta albums. So hopefully you've heard by now the Insta albums are on sale for 40% off right now. So I am going to share with you some of my tips and techniques that I have figured out that have helped me when making the Insta album. So there's a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and switch our camera view and take a look at what we're going to make. Okay, so you can see here I have done my Insta album for today's video in a Christmas theme. And, these albums are great for weddings. They're great for vacations, baby albums. There's just pretty much anything you'd make a picture album of. The Insta albums are a great way to display your photos. But one thing I like to do, especially with the 8x8 album, is at Christmas time, have them made up in advance and give them as gifts. Our ladies Bible class has a gift exchange where we do handmade gifts, and the album is always a big hit. So if that's something that you do, you might enjoy that. So I did tie a bow around mine. It does have a magnet that holds it shut. I just tie the bow around it because I thought it looked pretty. Okay, so let's take a quick look at this album. I left the front here open, so if someone wanted to put like a family photo of a certain Christmas, they could do that right here on the front. And then you open it up, and right away you see I have some kind of complementing papers here and the strips down the center. And I will start on this side. I like to keep this page kind of a title page. You open that up and you can kind of see here some of the decorations inside. And we will be going through this more carefully when we get going. So, okay, you can kind of see there a little bit of this album. One of the things that I think can be the most difficult when doing an Insta album is putting the magnets in. So that's where I wanted to start with some tips. So this is an empty album. And for the magnets, I have found that these are the best magnets for making albums. There's different ones, but these, they're thin, but they're also very powerful. So they're my favorite. So the bigger ones come with 3 in a pack. And I use these, especially when I'm making a 12x12 album, but you can also use them in an 8x8. But there is another pack that has some smaller ones, and I have found that these work pretty good in an 8x8 also. So I go ahead and for today's purposes, I'm going to be using these. All right, so let's get those open. And I can't remember how many are in here exactly. We'll count them as we go, but I'm pretty sure one pack will do the whole thing. So one thing that I have found when doing the Insta album, I like to start with my magnets by starting at the very bottom of the center. So to get to the bottom center, we're going to open this all up. And right here, you see number 3. And right above it, here's the other number 3. So to separate these, you press and kind of push them apart. Sometimes they're very, very strong, but you press one apart. And I like to add mine. Now you can do it with the glue, but it takes a while. You have to wait on it to dry. So I'm going to use the double-sided adhesive. And I just tear off a spot. And the very first one, it doesn't matter. You can put it down either way. But after that, it matters very, very much. So we'll, okay, so you put one down. And then I'm going to go ahead and close this and just drop it. And it's going to show you where it needs to go. So I'm going to leave it like this. Well, here. We're going to go ahead and put our adhesive on the top 3. Kind of hard to keep it in photo. It's so big. Okay, so I'm going to close it again, let it drop. And I know that it needs to go in this orientation, but it's going to go down. So we're going to put that one right there and close it. And there you go. Press that down real good. So we've got our first magnets. All right, we're going to go ahead and close this flap up. Now the next magnet is we're going to go to is number 4. This one right here is going to close on this. So that's the next one that needs to meet up. So in the same way, I'm going to put my double-sided adhesive right here on number 4. Go ahead and, sorry, I've got my nails too long. It makes that hard to get off there. Okay, peel one of those off. And I'm going to do this by dropping that down on here. And now when I close this, I just want to make sure that my page evens up really well, because however I stick this down, that is how it's going to close. All right, so there we go. We've got that one down. So we can open this back up. And on the inside of the far right flap is our other number 4. So this one needs to attach to this. So same way, we're going to add our number 4 right here. Now, I have found it's very important to start with the very bottom and work your way up. That way you don't accidentally get 2 magnets that are pushing away from each other. That is extremely easy to do when making these. So for this one, we'll push this over. Our magnet's over here. There it is. And we want it to close and attach right there. All right. So now we can close that back down. Close this, that attaches. Close this, that attaches. Okay, we're good. Now we're going to come over to the other side of the book. Here is a number 3, and this number 3 closes on top of this one. So again, we're going to pop those apart, let that go down. Put our adhesive here on number 3. And I'm going to leave this flap up. I'm going to close this, and again, making sure that it's nice and square, which is kind of hard to do on my table because I have stuff up here blocking me, but you can see. Press that down. There we go. Get it open. Now we can close this flap and let this come shut, and it's nice and square. Okay, so that was number 3. Now we need to come over to the other side of the book. We don't want to do the top ones yet on the outer edges. Those are the last ones we're going to do. Open this all up. And the one on this back side is going to be the one attached to this. So that's the one we want to do next. So I'm going to open this all up. Okay, I set my magnets down. There they are. Okay, open that all back up. And to get these just right, okay, see how it goes over here, but you still want it to be right like that, okay? So we'll let that be right there. And that's because when this goes on shut, this page is going to move over. So we'll go ahead like this. And we're going to put our, all right, now we can go ahead and close this back up. And when this goes all the way shut, oops, do I have it? Yes, I do. Okay. You just always have to constantly check, because those magnets very quickly, without even realizing it, you can get those off, and then it doesn't work if you get those going the wrong direction. So this one needs to attach down here. So now we'll do our 1 and 2 down here. I'll do that by putting that here. Now, I know I'm going through this kind of fast, but you'll be able to watch this on replay and come back and follow this if and kind of see what I'm attaching to where. I'm going to get that in there nice and square, and with this nice and straight right here, press that down, and then that's going to be to the right place on this one. All right, now this one on here is going to attach to the number 1 that's fine, and it actually attaches to the cover. So we're going to do that one last. We'll go ahead and close these up, and that should be like that. And let's see here. Okay, like this. So the last one we need to do is the number 2 right here, and where it attaches, go ahead and, whoops, close it up. It's going to attach right here. So that's where we're going to drop our magnet. There we go. And again, put your adhesive on your number 2, but you're basically working backwards by letting your magnet go where it's going to fall and then closing the door and letting it attach. That way, you know you always have them the right direction. All right, so there, all of our magnets are in this one, and we can go ahead and close that, close this, and our final 2 are right here. So we have to go all the way back into the bottom here. And the way I like to do it, the same direction that this one is the way I like to do this one. So that goes like that. I'm going to turn it and have it going the same direction as the one beside it. I kind of wish the different magnet, like they would color them on one side and the other so you always knew like which side was which. Okay, yes, like that. Okay, so we've got that one down, and it's going the same pull direction as the one beside it. So go ahead and close that up. And now we just need to put our last magnet right here on the front. Let me put my adhesive on my number 1. There we go. Oops. Okay, and we're going to have 1 magnet left. 2 magnets left, actually. Okay, so we drop that one and then close our door, making sure that that is squared up. And ta-da, that's how you get your magnets, and everything is attaching in the right direction. It's all squared up, and now we are ready to decorate. So the main tip is to always start at the very bottom, working your way up, making sure that where it's the next one that's gonna attach to it is always attached in the right way. And that is the best way to go and not accidentally get them going the wrong way. And for this particular tip, I want to tell you what not to do is to open it like this and do magnets in one section and then another section and then here. If you do it that way, you run the risk that when you close it, you've got the 2 sections pushing away from each other instead of connecting. And what that does is it's going to push one of your sections out, and it'll actually make your album crooked. I can speak to this because I've done it a couple of times. So that's how I learned that you definitely don't want to do that. So, okay, I hope this helps you when you go to put your magnets into your album. Okay, so for today's album, I have one here that I have already inserted the magnets and put in a lot of the papers. I am using the Candlelit Christmas collection from a few years ago. It's got a lot of beautiful papers. I especially like these snowy trees, and I like the colors in it. I also really like this one. So I found that this paper pad was really nice to use with the Insta Album. And you can see where some of the strips from this piece of paper I used here. So one of the great things about the Insta Album, and that makes it so quick and easy to put together, whoops, is that the sizes are right here for you. So it's really quick to build your, to cut your papers. The only thing is as you're going, you have to, the way you cut your papers, you want to kind of do it strategically so that you can get the most out of your album and kind of look through. So one thing I like to do is have kind of a congruency to the main pages. So with that in mind, the one that's going to go right here, you see how I've got the trees here and are red, then the trees, then the red, and then over here it doesn't have trees, but it is that same paper. And this little piece was actually cut from the top of one of these papers. So that's just one way you can kind of get a nice flow to your album, is kind of how you use your papers. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down. Whoa. Sorry, I refilled my glue bottle today and it is just coming out really fast. So I'm gonna have to wipe that up. It just like shot out of there. Okay, so we're going to put that down. And one thing to always be mindful of, whatever the paper is on this side, it's the same on the other side. So I'm just going to wipe up that glue that I spilled real quick because we don't want any of these to be glued shut. Okay. So when I cut my papers, it's always good to remember, but most of the sizes like are for the Insta album, once you kind of know, like the square part, they're always 8x8 on the 8x8 album. And then the little short pages, they're almost always 6x8. Not always. There's one that goes the other direction that's a little different. But for the most part, they're easy to tell what the sizes are. Okay, and always the sizes leave you this nice 1/4 inch edge all the way around. Okay, so one of the other tips I wanted to show you is how I go about putting my papers on the pages that have the magnets. Oh, Julie, thank you. You like the way I did my magnets? So yes, if you've ever done it and got them wrong, you'll know what I mean. So on this open flap right here, I like to kind of do a decorative page. I don't always like plan on putting pictures there. So I chose this one out of this. And one of the ways I like to do it is I put some glue right here around my magnet and right on my magnet. Then I add my glue to my paper, making sure that I get my glue all the way out to the edges because I don't want any of these papers kind of pulling up. All right. So once I get that down, and then I just place it on here, getting my edge right. And when I lay it down, I can just run my fingers there around that magnet, making sure that that paper is kind of glued down there around that magnet. And that will keep the paper from kind of bubbling. You know, after you've had these albums for several years after making it, if you haven't glued that down well, I noticed it kind of starts to, you get some bubbles around there. So that's how I like to glue down my papers on the pages that have the magnet. Okay, so I like to do a little bit of decorating, and I'm going to quickly run through. I've made a bag here of all the goodies that we're going to put in this album. So I'm going to quickly run through some of the die sets that I have used to make this album. So I did use the Christmas poinsettia and holly that came out with the candlelight Christmas paper. I used the little snowman from the Countryside Winterscapes. I used the largest of the candlelight poinsettias. I used both of these pieces from the Glow of Christmas. Then I used this large piece from the Adorn It pocket die, and I used the little scalloped insert. I used our largest of the tag dies, as well as this one on the inside. I used these two pieces from our Petite Pocket accent dies. I made several of the Elegant Pocket accent die, this one right here. From the large holiday star set, I used the snowflakes right here. From the starry holiday greetings, I used our Merry Christmas. From the ornate pockets, I used this piece right here that cuts out from the center. From the decorative pocket dies, I used this one right here. And then from my slimline eyelet heart piece, I used the pretty frame piece. Okay, now there are a couple others that I used that I did not have the packaging for, but I will run you through some of those in just a moment. So, okay, we're going to start with adding our Merry Christmas, and I die cut this 3 times and layered it up. Now, on all of my pieces here, I like to make little pieces. Sometimes I use this one, sometimes I use others, but for this album right here, I like to make myself little handles to be my lift up point, and I like them to be very thick and sturdy. I have found that over time, if you are always lifting it from right here, those magnets are very tight. And if you're always lifting it from here, over time, this page will start to curl. So I like to make a very thick, this is like 4 to 5 pieces of thick, heavy cardstock to make this. So it's a nice sturdy piece. And I glue that right here, and that becomes my handle to open this page so that over time I'm not putting too much pressure and bending this. And I have found that as something I like to do. So to do that, I just add some glue down here on the bottom half or bottom corners. Then I center it up where I want it, right here on my page, so that it touches about right here. And then I just press down and hold. Turn that over, and I just press it and hold it. Oops, I got that in a little crooked. Oh, let me pull this down. I have to remember to keep in the camera. But I just press that down and hold it. And that gives me my handle for each page. Now, for our Merry Christmas, I'm just going to lightly tap that on. Put that down. I also, on this page, put a decorative piece right here. And that's just to add some interest and some pretties to this page. So I'll go ahead and do that real quickly. Any of the beautiful dies that Heartfelt makes, you can use in this album. Whoops, and you know what? I need to get it all the way to the top. All right. I probably didn't. I need to move my Christmas down. There we go. I should have started with Mary. Okay, so now we'll glue this piece on. And of course, when I glue these down for an album, I make sure I get my glue all the way to the edges so that nothing's going to pull up. Now I'm just going to slide that right in there just to give that a decorative look. And then I'm going to add the Mary. And like I said, I kind of like this opening page just to have a bit of a, you know, kind of like a title page. So if this was a baby album, I might put the baby's name and birth date or something like that. Or, you know, but I like this opening one to be a title page. Okay, so I did all my images that I stamped. Oh, someone asked me, have you put the handle pieces under your paper? Yes, sometimes I do. On this one, I didn't just because I thought they were pretty, so I left them out. But yes, some of the different dies that I've used for handles, and then some of the 12 by 12s, I've just made myself little round discs that I layered up. And then when I, like discs meaning like circles. And when I've done that, I have tucked them under the paper. So yes, that is something I have done. That's a good tip. Thank you for reminding me. So for the images in this album, I stamped them in gold and then heat embossed them, and I colored those up in advance. So I have a nice pile of little images here that I've made. And one of them is this little snowman, and I'm going to add him right down here in this corner. So tell me in the chat if you have made the 8 by 8 or 12 by 12 albums in the past. And if so, what were the things that you came up with as kind of tricks to or tips to make it easier? And what kind of occasions did you make them for? What kind of albums did you make? So I put this little snowman just right here like that. Okay, so now I'm going to move on. We did this inside piece. Like I said, it's a little tricky to keep this in my camera view, so I'm probably going to be going out of view from time to time. Now you can see right here the paper here, and then I've moved in with this paper, and when I open this up, you see right here how over here is the other half of that paper. So I kept that kind of congruency and flow going, and down here, so we've got the Christmas ornaments all kind of right here. So on this part, we had the snow. This was just kind of a filler paper that went with everything. And then over here, we went kind of with the little ornaments. So I kind of like to think about that when I'm placing my papers. And as I open it, you can see this one, and I put it on crooked. This one up here has the ornament. And then inside on this green piece, I actually put a little pocket. Let me see if I can find that paper that I did that with. All right, I can't find the paper, so that's okay. But I used one of my little pocket pieces right here, and I had a piece of paper that went right here, and I made myself a little pocket. So that's kind of something you can do on these inside bits. And some of the pages I like to leave blank, but others I put little pockets and things like that. So on the inside of these bigger ones, on these corners, I kind of like to leave these as places where somebody could put multiple photos, or if they wanted to just put one big photo. So for all of these corners, I cut one of these and I made just a navy blue to match my paper, and I layered these up and I use these as corner pieces. So we will do that real quickly. Just about any die in Heartfelt's collection of dies will look beautiful in these albums. Now, I love the gold paper in the albums, the deluxe gold paper. Now, when I glue this down, I'm only putting glue on the corners just in case somebody wanted to use this as a tuck spot instead of a deck. Like you could put your picture over it, or if you wanted to tuck it in, you could tuck it in. So when I glue them down, and on this particular page, I went ahead and put them on all four corners. So I have those pre-made. We'll just put those down in all four corners. Right. So when I'm doing these as gifts, I like to try to have them decorated, but not too decorated to where the person is too limited on where they put, how they put their photos or their pictures in. Now, when I'm doing it myself and I have my photos and it's for me, I have a little more freedom before I put it. But this particular one I'm doing as a gift. So, all right, and you can see here, and I think I want to show you the congruency of paper. I'm having the top, then something in the center, but then my bottom piece matches my top piece there. I find that pleasing to the eye to have a little bit of flow to the papers that I use. So I'm going to go ahead and close this up, and it is all magneted shut. So we'll go ahead and close this side. So that side is finished. So now I'm going to move on to this side. We're going to do the center. And it flips open like this. And right here, I have another piece where I am going to put one of our red pieces. And I'll show you how I did this section. All right. When my table's just too small today. Thank you, Janet. It's a little tricky to do this and keep it in the camera. So thank you for having patience with me. Okay. So we're kind of on this open flap that opens up. Now you can see right here, see how I have these different shades of like my blues right here. I don't want this to be super distracting or busy, but I do want some contrast. So I went with this pretty red right here, but I don't want to put this one here, and I'm going to show you why. When you open it up like this, if I put this one here, then this one's going to go here, and that's how that's going to look. So I'm going to do this the other way around. I want it like this. And then when it closes, it's going to look like this. See how that is? So that is how I did these two pages. I can't get this other end to stand up and stop pushing the album. So I'm going to quit fighting with it, and you guys will be able to see. At the very end, I will go through the whole album. That way, if you want to make one of these and do it in the same way that I did, you'll be able to see all the papers and the decorations that I used. I just can't do all of it in 40 minutes, but maybe one day I'll do a longer tutorial. Oh, and I forgot to put my glue down around my magnet. There we go. I had glue on the paper, so hopefully that gets that good. Okay. And then this one. There we go. All right. Now on the back side of this one, I made two pockets right here. So that's on the back side. And so for my two pockets, I have two tags that I made, and these you could put pictures on or journaling, either way. And you can make more than one tag to go in each pocket. I'm going to go ahead and put those down right here. And I tie ribbons on these. But for this right across here at the top of my pocket, I have these little pieces right here. I was going to show you. So you can do it with these pieces right here, or in the paper pad, there are several pieces like this, and I like to cut those off, and I'm going to use this one right here, and we're just going to attach those right there. So I had, oh, you know what? I didn't use that one. I used this one with the little, I did have them pre-cut. There we go. So these are the ones that I just added right there. So sometimes you can use your decorative dies, but you can also utilize that paper pad and all the pretties that come in it to do some of your decorating as well. So on this one, we're just going to line that up right on there. But you can see as I'm doing this, just all the flexibility and the creative outlets you have to just do all kinds of things. I mean, you can, oh, I just wish I could show them all, but there you can do decorative tags and dies and pockets and photo frames. And it seems like everyone I see when Emmylou went through the ones, everybody just has so many ideas of how to decorate these up. Now, you can use some of your pieces, like if you wanted to, you could decorate some of these things, add some florals, some of your other design pieces you could definitely decorate in here. So now we have it to the spot. We're going to go ahead and add a couple more of our handles. So I've got another handle made right here, and on this one I'm going to put it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. There we go. Okay, so now we have our handle here, and this, I wish my camera was like way up on the ceiling so you could see my whole desk, but not to be today. So to have a little bit of congruency on this one, I'm going to add a couple more of my corners. Now on this page, I didn't do all 4 corners. I just did the bottom 2 so that it has a similar look to the other side, but it's not exactly the same. And maybe if someone wanted to put like a larger photo here, or you could put a photo frame here and then put your journaling cards down here. Just so many options on how to lay this out to get the look that you want. Okay, so there's our decorative pieces on this one. Okay, so now we've got this side completed. Okay, now for our page right here, this is a pocket. And of course, you could use something like this to be your edge. But on this one, I took one of these, the slimline frames, and I am going to cut that off right here. And I am going to put this down right here to kind of provide a nice lacy edge. And that picks up on my pretty pieces that I have here and just adds a nice decoration. So I'm going to kind of look. You see how this hangs off a little bit? So I am going to have to trim that up. So if I kind of took a look and I made note of where that hit, and I'm just going to trim that up, add my glue. Just put that down right here. Now, the reason I had this lace going the other way, because this is just one layer of lace. So if I had put it on the other way, as you put your pockets on and out, it might pull up these little pretties. So I glued them down facing the other way. That way my pocket is clear, and this will stay nice and, you know, will hold up over time with people looking at it. So that's something to think about when you look at these. We know how it's put together and we know which pieces are delicate, but when your family and friends look at it, they don't necessarily know. And so building it in a sturdy way so that your friends can look at it without breaking it is something to think about. Okay, so now we have this inside section. We've opened this flap, and I have a piece to add here. And the way I did this one is I added another pocket right here. And so I'm going to put the bottom piece down first. There we go. And now for this piece, I'm only going to glue the 3 edges so that this can be a pocket. Make sure I'm putting glue in the right spot. All right. Line those up. And on this one, let me find I've got my decorative pieces all strung out here. I am going to use one of these, but I'm going to use it as a decorative piece instead of a pocket. So I'm just going to very carefully cut off the little pocket piece. See that? And I'm going to adhere this, and in the same way as that last piece, I'm going to direction it so that it is most protected over time to not get messed up or torn up or lifted up. So I'm going to place that right along here. Oops. Okay. Hold that down. Don't want to glue my pocket shut. Okay. And this is another one where I took one of my tags and I made my tags 4 pieces thick. So there's 2 pieces of the craft cardstock and then there's 2 pieces of the blue. So this is 4 thick. It's very sturdy. And once it gets photos on it, it'll make it even sturdier. And I would take my ribbon and tie there in the thing, and it slides in just like this. So we have a little pocket page right here. All right, now for this piece right here, we're going to go ahead and add another handle. And when you asked about my handle being under the paper, I kind of purposely, if you kind of look through this album and see the papers, it's almost always on a solid piece. So I liked the pretties on the outside for this album, and I'll pull it down and show you. This one that we did on the other side, that was on a solid green, and this one comes out on a solid blue. So that is, I kind of liked the decorative. I thought it had a Christmassy look. So, okay. Now, get some of this out of the way. Okay. Now, since I've already shown you, this is another pocket where I put a decorative, but I've shown you that. So I'm going to go ahead and skip that. And we are going to move over to the other side here in the center. Now, I also made 2 of these. And I took an oval die and cut an oval, and I am going to glue that behind it just like that. So by cutting this in half, I had 2 halves of ovals to make my background for this. Now I'm just going to do it with my scissors, but I used a paper cutter before. But pretty much just cut that in half and added that to the back here. So we'll do that real quick. Okay. And there we go. Okay. I thought I had one of these done for my album, but I guess not. Okay. Now I did that real quick because this one is what we're going to use inside here. Now, if you didn't have an oval die that matched that arch, you could cut it freehand. And right here, we are going to add another one of our decorative handles. There we go. All right. Press that down. Okay, so when you open this up, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that down, these 2 pages right here, you see how they have that congruency. I wanted to decorate this page just a little bit. So I am going to add a little pretty right in here. And I did do these with foam. And I'm just going to add him right here. All right. So that adds a little nice there. We'll go ahead and close this side up. Now for this one, when you open it down like this, I have my red here that matches my red over here. But if we go on up, there's a blue piece right down here. So this, and then there's another red one or another light blue one right down here. Now this one is where I'm going to add this piece right here. And I'm only going to glue it around the bottom and just a little bit up the side. So again, it's a tuck spot. So I'm going to add my glue just a little bit. Oops. There we go. And I'm just going to put it right in the center. So this makes a spot where you could tuck some journaling cards if you had photos up here, or you could tuck 2 or 3 photo tags in there, or you could just put a big frame here and this could just be a pretty, but it just gives you lots of flexibility there. Now this piece turned the other way, you can attach it and make that a pocket, a decorative pocket piece, but this is just another way to kind of utilize this die. Now, out of the paper pad, I cut several of the little tags out, and you can tie some pretty decorative twine on that and attach that to any of these pages or any of these places. And I like to do that as well. You can also use some string to attach a string that hangs off. So you have 2 tags that are together. And when you slide them in the pocket, you can leave the smaller tag hanging on the outside to do some journaling. So Jimmy Beth was asking if there's a kit for this. No, there's not a kit, but there is the album, and they are 40% off right now. So you can get the instant album. Then you can just buy any paper packet that you like. But I used the Candlelight Christmas pack, and you can certainly go back and watch this video to get to see where I put the papers and things like that. So there's not really a specific kit, but the 8x8 album and the magnets you can get at heartfeltcreation.com. And it's a very easy step-by-step process. You just kind of follow those page dimensions that are already there for you and very quickly put this album together. Okay, so let's see if I've got everything. I want to make sure I didn't. It looks like we have our inside completed, and we are going to go to the cover. Oh, I did forget one thing. The other half of our decorative die, I'm going to put it across right here because it kind of picks up the pretties on this side. So I'm just going to cut that. If I'm going to die cut it, I want to utilize it, right? So we're going to, I have a personal blog page called carrieleecreations.com, and I may do a video where I go step by step of all the papers and how I cut them and trim them and kind of break it down a little more. Whoops, I forgot to trim the edges off. Because I realize in a live it's a little short. So if you wanted to go over to carrieleecreations.com, it's not there yet, but in the coming weeks I'll post a longer video that kind of, for those of you that would like to make this step by step. Now, one other thing that I forgot to show you, you see how the binding pieces, I like to put a nice piece of paper in those. So I did have one that was a little bit different size. Did I fold this up correctly? Sometimes I forget. So there we go. So you see how there's some congruency on these by adding those decorative pieces. Okay, there was one. Here it is, right here. So you see how this one right here, I didn't have anything there. So I like to take, and I had one pre-cut. What did I do with it? I have a pile over here on the side. Ah, here it is. And you can see on this page of paper, you see how there's not only the red parts, but there's also this part. I took one of those and I cut it off of one of these, so it's already the right length. And that's what I'm going to use right here. But it's still a little too thick, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim the blue sides off. And I wanted to show you this because, you know, in the paper pad, look at the decorative pretties and kind of see where you can use these in your album to fill in those little places. So, you know, when the paper designer designed this, they weren't thinking about it being used in the binding of a book, but it's the perfect size to fit right in there, and it ties in with your other pieces. So that was just something I wanted to show you. Can you put Sure, I'll do that at the end. I will do that, Lorna. I'll put my blog. It is Carrie Lee Creations, and it's funny. It was actually named that before I started working for Heartfelt Creations. Just I thought the C's went together with my name, Carrie. So, but it is Carrie Lee Creations, and I can do a longer video, kind of step by step, if that would be helpful. But there we go. So I think I hit most of the highlights. I don't think I'm forgetting anything here, but let's do our cover. Okay, so inside we've got this, our magnets all match up. And where's my candle piece? Okay, I made one of these in gold as the cover, and I don't know what I've done with it. Here he is. Here he is. He's hiding. So I wanted this, I made this piece right here. And again, I stamped that in gold and then heat embossed it. And I colored it with my inks using the daubers. Now, sometimes when I'm doing these really intricate pieces, even the daubers with their point, I have trouble. Like I didn't want the blue of this Christmas ball getting into my leaves. So I like to use a makeup brush. Sometimes these little makeup brushes, you can get them at the dollar store, and that helps you even more fine tune where you're putting your color. So that's just another tip. Now, when I put this on, I'm going to offset it just a little bit. I'm going to raise it up above. I'm not going to set it exactly on the image. I'm going to raise it just a little bit up so that you can see some of the greenery and the pretties and the glow around the candle coming out. And that's just a technique you can do to kind of utilize the images in your paper to help add to your design, the look that you would like. So, you know, the people who draw and do the artwork for these paper packs, they're so talented. So we definitely want to take advantage of what they give us in the paper pad. So I am going to go ahead and just pop that right on top, offsetting it a little bit. And then I've made some of the roses, some of the flowers, the poinsettias from the collection that went with this. And it is called the Christmas poinsettia. And I used the shaping mold to shape it. And I used hot glue to attach this, but since I don't have my glue gun hot, we're just going to use what we have. And I'm kind of offsetting my flowers so you see some of the flower from underneath. And the final step would be to add a few leaves, which I'm not going to quite have time to do here because it's taken too long for my glue to dry. And I'll go ahead and get my original to show you, but you can see right here, I made a little Merry Christmas tag to kind of come out from my candle to kind of finish off my cover. And like I said, on this one, I kept my cover pretty simple. And I tied a beautiful red bow around, and this slides on and off very easily. So I know this was a really fast way to look at a Insta album, but I hope I gave you enough ideas that if you wanted to take on doing one of these, you would be ready to go. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and switch my camera back. All right, so I want to tell you again, the Insta albums are 40% off right now. And if you're wanting to make them as Christmas gifts, you know, get them now while they're on sale. Go ahead and grab those paper pads, maybe some of them from the warehouse clearance like I did today. And you can have those made and ready so they are off your mind. When the Christmas season gets here and it's busy, you'll already have yours ready to go. Now, another neat idea is if you want to make one of these every year for your family Christmas, you can put the date right down here. And then like when Christmas rolls around and you have your family in, you can set them out and your family can look back and enjoy the memories from past Christmases as they're making new memories for this Christmas. So that's just another fun idea if you're making a Christmas album. Now, this is still National Craft Month, so if you spend $100 at heartfeltcreation.com, you will get a free stamp set. So there's just lots going on right now. So you can take advantage of that 40% on the Insta. And also right now, and all of these work great with the Insta albums, all of these dies are on 40% also. So you can get some great discounts and easily spend $100. And I'll run through those real quick. You've got the Royal Elegance, got this one, which makes great pocket pages. Got some beautiful frames. This die right here, if you do not have this die, often you see me using eyelet circles. This is the die that has the graduated eyelet circles. This is the only place that they have the eyelet circles. So if you don't have this one, you're going to want to grab it. Very, very important die to have on hand. And then these two as well. Another beautiful frame die right here. So all of those are on 40% right now also. Okay, I'm going to let you go. I hope you all have a lovely day. I've enjoyed crafting with you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.